There's no other business for Mr. Price or the county manager to come before the Board of Adjustments. Then I'll declare this Board of Adjustment hearing closed. We'll reopen. We'll go ahead and open back up to our regular session and going to new business number 6, school appropriations of lottery funds. Mr. Smith.
So we gave to you earlier this morning the form being submitted to the state of North Carolina by the schools for the $1,071,428, and this is to assist with the payment of the QSCABs or qualified school construction bonds. And the school board is prepared to make the request, but it requires the approval of the commissioners to submit the application to the state. And we make these annually.
What's the pleasure of the board?
I move we accept this and move forward with it.
Motion's on the floor that we accept this application and move forward with the request. Any discussion?
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Mayor.
Just want to make sure, yeah, I think I see it number 4, that this is item 4 on this. It says part of it reads to retire indebtedness incurred for school construction projects. So this is for the Eastern Wayne Middle School and the North Wayne Middle renovations. Do you know what the balance of this? I think the initial was like 15 million. Do you know what the balance is?
Yeah, we actually put it on the rear, if you'll, I think we have it on the rear of the document.
Okay, let me, yeah, here it is.
Yeah, we've got it
Okay.
on there.
Got it, yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
So so just to understand then, we've, the original note was 15 million. Principal payment October 1st of 12 was 1,071. That's like this one here is. It's the same
Yes.
amount.
Yes, it's
Okay.
a level amount for the 14 years. For the 14 years.
All right. And this is from the lottery funds.
That's correct.
So no matter what this is a question, I guess, speculative maybe, if the lottery funds like this year has changed, will it affect this next year?
Well, it depends. Well, I can answer this way. If the lottery funds disappeared in total, they said they're gone, we would have to pick up this $1 million.
All right, so this year,
Is that-
the General Assembly went to 100 million to be dispersed for retiring debts for school construction. So as we lobby for that 100 million for the coming year all over the state,
Yes,
will we apply the same way next year
yes.
for that 100 million? So next year, if the General Assembly decides to bring it down to 50 million, we'd have to, everybody lobby for part of that 50 million.
That's right.
So it's possible that, because we got
We
the
could
same
be
amount
impacted.
last year, we get this amount this year, so this amount would reduce the debt to 12,857
Yes.
for these two projects. I guess just for clarity in my mind, understanding the lottery and how
Sure.
to talk to General Assembly members and how important that lottery is to Wayne County, we're saying if this lottery goes away or is reduced, it could in effect have an effect on this next year.
It would absolutely have an impact if they reduce the amount where I think you're that just under $2 million a year. If they reduce that anymore, we would become responsible and we, the county, would owe this $12.8 million.
All right, thank you. That was my question. Any other questions? Motion's on the floor to... Did you
Approve
make
the
that, Mr.
application.
Did you make that, Mr. Stoddard? Mr. Pate,
Pate.
I'm sorry, Mr. Pate. Motion's on the floor by Mr. Pate to approve this application to retire the indebtedness of the Eastern Wayne Middle, North Wayne Middle renovations project. Any discussion, any further discussion? All those in favor, raise your hand. All those opposed? Thank you. Next item is number 7, which will be your city property transfer.
Yes, sir. This morning, we added on, and we've had discussions over the last year. We have transferred some properties to some other municipalities, and we've given to you a list of those. We have already, as a county, surplus these properties. But now, the staff had recommended and the city had requested the transfer of the properties to the city of Goldsboro for their potential sale of those properties, reimbursing us for any cost, including taxes. So we're just bringing it to you for discussion at this time and consideration. And we also did give you an updated sheet that had the tax, the amounts on them.
So what I understand then, you're saying is you're bringing this for discussion and consideration.
Yes, sir.
All right, what's the pleasure of the board?
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Dodd?
You know, with the new figures here on tax value on these properties, I just am not quite comfortable in transferring, and I did a quick tally on that, that's over $220,000 worth of property, tax value property. I'm just not comfortable in regards to just a blanket transfer of those properties, and would ask that we table this matter and do some further study and get some additional information prior to a vote.
Is that a motion?
That is a motion.
Motion's on the floor that we table this for further study. Any discussion? All those in favor of tabling this for further discussion, raise your hand. All those opposed? It's unanimous. The next item of business will be, it is 11:30, and we have taxpayers' appeal. Mr. Smith?
Yes, sir. I'd ask tax office David to come forward, please.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner, excuse me, we
Mr. Ward,
have
good.
two taxpayers that are here to appeal their values. They filed informal appeals with us first part of the year, and they're here to appeal those. I'm going to ask Alan to come up and brief y'all a little bit on the process, and then we will ask the taxpayers to come up, state their case, ask any questions you want to. We'll then have our appraisers come up, and actually one of our appraisers come up and tell you the information we have on it, and like I say, ask any questions you feel like there.
Thank you, Mr. Ward.
Well, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, how y'all? I did want to, y'all have heard this multiple times, but I did want to go over one more time about the process we went through for revaluation and sort of where we are with that revaluation, because I think it might help some citizens at home possibly just sort of reiterate what we had, what we went through and where we are now. We did do our revaluation. It was effective January 1st, 2011. Every county in North Carolina is required to do a revaluation once every 8 years. Our previous reval was in 2003. During that time, the economy fluctuates up and down, up and down. We can't recognize those changes in the economy per statute. We're pretty much locked into our reval until our next revaluation. We did this using, people like to say the tax base sets values. We don't set values. We're just a mirror or reflection of what people buy and sell property. They set the market. We just reflect that on our tax values. Our goal is to get market value and tax value pretty close to the same thing as of that snapshot date. At that time, and equity is a big part of our stuff also. If you live in a subdivision and you have a house, and as you know, some of you in the building business, there's usually about 4 or 5 plans people build in a given subdivision. They might flip the garage here and there, but they're pretty much the same house. If you have a house that was the same year, built the same year, same construction detail, same square footage, you should have pretty much the same tax value. Even though house down the road, they may have a distress sale or something like that. They have to go ahead and sell their property. That doesn't affect us. Equity is you have the same tax value as your neighbor down the street as far as for tax purposes. So that's sort of where we are right now. When we did our revaluation, the state requires us to do a sales ratio study each year. What they do, they compare, it's a random sampling they give us every year to check this at the Register of Deeds. We compare what properties are selling for to what our tax values are. At revaluation time, we were at 99.47%, which means we were right at almost 100% of which was pretty good. This is a mass appraisal, which means some of those might be a little bit above 100%, some a little below, but the overall average was right at 100% when we did our revaluation. The next year we did that for 2012, we went up to 100.22%, which tells us the market hadn't finished dropping yet, which means there were some properties out there where it was selling for less than what our tax value was. 2013 came back in line a little bit. It was 100.02%. So it came back up in line, which, the market's still adjusting itself. But all that said, we're still locked into January 1, 2011. That's our revaluation date. We can adjust values only for physical problems. If somebody has some damage to their property, if they have termites, if they have flood damage, something like that, we can adjust tax values. But when those values are cured, we have to put it right back where it was. So it's a temporary adjustment. We cannot, again, adjust values for economic reasons. The market's going to go like this, up and down. This, I think, I've been through, this is my third reval. I think this is your fifth, maybe? Too many? But historically, in the past, every time we do a revaluation, the very next day, the market's still going like this. I mean, we start like this, here's tax value, here's the market value. Market keeps going up and up and up. It hasn't been a problem in the past because people don't call and tell you, well, you increased my tax value. This time, as I just pointed out, it looks like the market fell a little bit right after our revaluation. So in the same token, we can't raise values, we can't lower values because of that economic influx. It's like a roller coaster out there. We have to be constant, like I said, to preserve the equity of our revaluation. So that's just sort of, in a nutshell, the process, what we went through, and where we are right now. For that, I just want to sort of, like I said, mainly for the people at home. Y'all have heard this before, so mainly for the people at home. So what we're going to do today, like David said, I have some folders for you to pass out. We have 2 appeals to be heard. One, Ms. Hollowell's here, and she's going to come talk to you, and I've got some stuff for you here I'm going to pass out. What you're seeing here is the first page this is what the taxpayer supplied to us. This is the appeal form that we required what to fill out. The next sheet is a cover sheet for an appraisal that she supplied to us. And then from that point on, it's a property record card and then our information. So at this time, I would like to ask Miss Betty Hollowell, she'll come up here and speak to y'all.
Good morning, Ms. Hollowell.
Good morning. How are you?
Good, thank you.
I filed an informal appeal and submitted the documentation. I guess you've got a copy of the documentation. And then I received notification that they didn't accept that states were remaining with the value that they had evaluated it at. But I did have the evaluation for the county was $153,890, and the appraisal was for $138,000. And that was quite a big difference. I know the market fluctuates, but that's quite a big difference too. Do you have anything?
Any of the commissioners have any questions for Ms. Hollowell? Mr. Pate?
Are you trying to sell the home, or are you just trying to?
No, I
was.
wasn't trying to sell it,
Oh,
but I didn't think it was a value that high.
I was just gonna make a
My
comment.
house is smaller than the houses around it. The other houses are 2-story houses around me, have upper levels. My house is smaller.
I was just gonna make a comment. I kind of feel your pain because I just had to sell a home
No.
for a lot less than the tax
No, I
value.
was in the process of trying to lock into a lower interest rate because I'm on a fixed income. I was trying to lower my payments.
You were trying to refinance your home,
Yeah,
and you had to get an appraisal?
Yes, I did.
To do that?
yes, I did. $400.
And the difference between what is appraised, and that was the appraised value to get it refinanced? That gentleman, was that Hudson? Houston?
Houston.
Houston.
West
Houston?
Houston out of
Okay.
Kinston did the appraisal.
Okay. Mr. Lumpkin, what is the difference between, let me back up a minute. When you were going to get it, have you got it refinanced
Not
now?
yet.
What is the difference in the rate, interest rate?
My interest rate, at that time, I was trying to get it like 4%, which has gone up since then. My interest rate is 5.75,
Okay,
and it would have been quite a big difference over the years.
okay. And my next question would be to Mr. Lumpkin, what is the difference between 153.8 and 138? What is the difference there? 15,800? What would be the taxes on that per 100, please, county?
On the 15.8, would be right at $110.
Per year? Or
Yes.
this year, 110?
I submitted
And your
this
rate
to
was 5, your rate was,
5.75,
and you were trying to get it at 4?
yeah.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
And that-
Actually, 3.75.
3.75?
Yeah, a couple
Okay.
points.
Okay.
I submitted this initially in 2011. They told me the fiscal year ended on June 30th, so I had to wait another year. And this year I submitted it and I didn't get a response until June 25th, so that throws it into another calendar year.
You did?
It's all it is, we're hearing this for this year, this tax year.
I understand, I'm talking about I had tried to,
And you did that in 2012 and all that.
well, okay, 12. I did this in 2012.
Well, yes, ma'am.
Okay. Mr. Mayo?
Somebody got to calculate, what's that percentage of the increase versus the 138 versus the 153, 890? What's that percentage?
Just over 10%.
10%?
You're just like 10 point, yeah, like 10.3, 10.4.
Some of this may be coming, like we were talking about, from market fluctuation, because the appraisal, I think the cutoff on the reappraisal was, what, January of 10?
January 1, 2011. We've actually used 2010 and part of 9 sale this one.
Yeah.
The one 2011 was our snapshot.
So we've had real estate has dropped a little, but it's starting to come back. But yeah, I see where the problem is. You got caught in the market fluctuation too. Okay.
Any other questions or comments? Mr. Cromartie?
Have you, I know that you're bringing this before us now, and you question, your concern is this date. Help me out with something. Had you requested a reduction in the assessed value? Did you request it went to assessed value of 153 after the reevaluation? Did you request a reduction in it?
I appealed it then.
You appealed it then?
Yes.
And help me out again.
I went,
It was denied then?
It was after the fiscal year ended. They told me I'd have to wait till 2012 to submit it. And this year, 2012, I submitted it, and I got then I got the response this year. In June, I had waited till it was, be another fiscal year.
So what prompted you to come now is that you had the appraisal done?
I had the
and-
appraisal done in 2012. It's 2012, I'm sorry.
April.
4/3.
But the calendar year's what caught me. I had to wait. I carried it in 2012, June of 2012, last year, or it was for end of June, and they said it was too late to submit it. I had to wait and submit it the following year, and I did, and I got caught that way.
Any other questions? Mr. Mayo?
Is this a sheet of the county
We're going to talk about that, that's our second, that when she gets through with your question, we're going to actually present that.
Okay, all right, okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Mr. Daughtery?
If I'm understanding, there was a reevaluation in 2011, and you were notified that your property was at 158, and you appealed.
Right.
And then you were told that you would have to wait till the next year?
Yes, for the next fiscal year, because it was too late to appeal it then.
And the next year would be
I appealed it in
2012.
2012.
You got an appraisal. You submitted the appraisal
Mhm.
to the tax office. And
I got a
from
response.
that point to this point, you finally gotten a hearing.
Right,
Is that correct?
yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir, Mr. Daughtery? Any other questions for Ms. Oliver?
The response was June 25th, and the fiscal year ends June 30th, so
Okay.
into another year.
Yes, ma'am. Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Lumley?
I'm going to ask Mr. T.J. Smothers to step up and review the second part of your packet there, and I would like to clarify a couple things, and with Ms. Hollowell, we sent notices out for 2011 revow. I don't have an appeal for you for 2011. Now, 2012, I do have where you filed
I
late,
didn't believe it because I went down to the tax office and they told me I had to wait.
but that was 12, that was 12.
Yeah.
That was 12, not 11. You didn't file it, when we first hit you, when we changed these values in 2011, I did not receive an appeal for you for 2011. You had your appraisal done in 2012 in April. You came down to our office in June of 12. It was too late because the board had already adjourned for that year, and then you came this year. So you did not file an appeal for 2012. I don't have any record of that. 11, I'm sorry. You did come in 12, though, after you had your appraisal done. Okay. That was Mr. Daughtery's question. I think he asked you about 11. You didn't file one for 11. Okay. Okay. Mr. Smothers, will you tell these gentlemen what they're seeing here?
Good afternoon, Chairman, Commissioners.
Yes, sir.
We're looking at this sheet right now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Of course, her subject address is 301 Braswell Road, and her tax value is $153,890. You see under there, we have 6 comps. They're all within probably 8.5 miles of the subject house. And we have it listed out, all the sales were, December '09, June '09, July '09, May '09. Her average square foot on her house is $98.14 per square foot. On our comps, our average on our comps, you see all the averages there, but the average of all 6 is $98.11 per square foot. So her house is in line with the 6 comps that we do have. So, any questions, I'll be glad to try to answer them.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Mayo?
is her house in a subdivision?
Yes, sir. It's a smaller one, yes. It's
It has 6 houses.
6 or 7 houses.
It's just a little cul-de-sac, yeah.
There's 6 houses.
Just a small area.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Cromartie?
So if I was to pick any street in Wayne County, I could pick the houses around it and expect that those tax values would be
Within a subdivision.
within a subdivision.
Yes, sir.
Not just any street.
Well, I mean, it just kind of
I
depends,
understand, because you're saying in a subdivision, they would be built almost probably about the same.
pretty much. Yes, sir.
I'll draw my question, because now I understand why you specifically said subdivisions and, all right.
Most of the time, that is the case.
They
but
are
there-
close, yeah,
yes,
they're
yes, sir.
built similar, as these square footages are probably designed in car garages and everything else.
Do you have, is that on?
Yes, sir.
Do you have a garage in your home? Is this subject Brownsville Road, Ms. Hall? Do you have a garage in your house? Is it on the end?
Yeah.
You can't see it from the road?
No.
Okay.
My house is smaller, the those lands that got tucked up in the level levels and people.
Okay. I guess my thought is I'm looking at the comparables that they used, and they used the comps within 8.5 miles. And I'm looking at, yours is brick veneer, and then there's another 2-story on Adler Lane. I'm familiar with Adler, Carlisle, I'm familiar with all of these roads. And why, I'm asking this to the county, I guess, is why would you go 8.5 miles? There's enough of what this home is within 2 miles in subdivisions.
In sales.
We have to.
You have to use sales, comp sales.
Yeah.
But how comp sales are 12 months, 24 months, 36 months. It's- I'm looking back to 2000, when it was built, and then, of course, I've got '09, all of these in '09. And then I've got this home being built in '97.
And our comparable homes are built in 95, 99, 96, 2000.
So I guess my question here is, why go 8.5 miles out when, aren't there any within 3 miles? Any sales?
Well, they're
Comparable.
the first three are in,
09?
within, I guess we call them
I've got
Rosewood.
this, I'm looking at
Yeah.
comparing them.
The max is 8 miles. These three here are in Rosewood
Yeah.
communities, for 100 subject. These three are within Rosewood.
They are?
Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
yes, sir.
These over here are the ones we're outside.
That's correct. Could you not get more with closer in?
Well, usually 3 is what, a regular appraisal from the bank requires usually 3.
That's correct. Yep.
So we went beyond just to see if we were,
I didn't know if you just could get any more closer in.
no, this is what we can find.
Okay.
For this age house, this construction detail, this size.
But you
with
went
that
to a
time frame,
2-story house at Adler Lane, and that's,
But the square footage is.
Square
still-
footages.
I understand. Okay. Okay. Mr. Mayo? Thank you. Mr. Mayo?
Ms. Hollowell, were you wanting to, were you able to refinance your house?
Not yet, have not been able to.
Is this appraisal affecting that
Yes,
as opposed to the tax value? It should not affect whether you refinance or not, right?
that's the only appraisal I've had done on it, and I haven't been able to go back and do anything. I've had some health issues, and I haven't been able to pursue it.
Yeah. But the tax value should not have anything to do with your refinancing.
Well, I'm just going out of the appraisal.
Okay, so you here basically saying that your appraisal is too high, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
The appraisal,
I'm talking about the tax evaluation is too high.
on the appraisal, the sheet he's got there is 2 other homes that they give the comparison factor on the appraisal, and it's within, one of them was within 2 miles of my house, and the other comparative house was within 5 miles of my house.
Right.
He's got that, and he's put that right there, this is
Just a matter of information, Mr. Chairman. If you look at the comparables of the county, if you take the lowest one, which was 1995, that was sold in 1995, 1,539 square feet. If you look at $89.34 a square foot, if you take that and apply it to Ms. Hollowell's square footage of 1,568, you come up with $140,085, which is fair close to what her appraisal is, but it's just a matter of information. If we, 1995 versus her house in 1997, that's a matter of information for the board. It does figure up at $89.34 if you take the lowest to $140,085.
Thank you, Mr. Mayo. Any other comments? Questions? Thank you.
DJ. Mr. Mayor brought up one point I'd like to clarify too, just in doing a mass appraisal, we're doing 64,000 parcels of land. We don't have the luxury of a bank appraiser going out and spending 2 or 3 days on one property. And the state guidelines say that if when you do your revaluation, there's a 10% above or below margin of error that is usually expected and accepted in a mass appraisal. So that point you brought up was a very good point, Mr. Mayor. I forgot to mention that earlier.
Thank you, Mr.
Any more questions for Ms. Hollowell?
I don't have any other questions from the commissioners. Thank you.
What we'd like to do is recommend that any more information you need from us or whatever, and then deliberate over this and maybe come back next time and give us a decision, if that's okay. And we'll let you know Ms. Hollowell, what the outcome is.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Holman, for coming in here and giving us your opinion. I appreciate it.
Do everything you can to save the ball.
Yes, ma'am.
Amen to that.
Mr. Ward?
Okay, Mr. Chairman, we have our next taxpayer is Mr. Dedrick Lewis, and I'll pass the same information that you saw before.
Thanks, sir.
Mr. Chairman, we'll do this the same way. We had the information on front. This is Mr. Lewis's appeal form and a lender's notice of value, and then a copy of his property record card, and then behind that will be our information. So at this time, I ask Mr. Lewis if he'll step up and speak to you.
Good morning, all.
Good morning, Mr. Lewis.
Again, my name is Dedrick Lewis. Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, a lot of folks get it wrong. I live at 1514 Scotty Drive. I've been living there since approximately January of 2005, where I bought the home for $123,800. The appraisal value of the property at that time was $125,000. Since that time, we've done some additions, not additions, but improvements to the home. We put vinyl siding on and had another appraisal done it was this past August when we refinanced the house through the VA program that they have. I'm retired from Seymour Johnson Air Force Base. And the appraisal at that time that I received from the VA appraiser was $136,000. The letter that I received from the city stated that my property was valued at $153,600. I cannot sell that property for that amount of money. I put in the letter for the appeals process. I talked to a gentleman on the phone. I can't remember which one I talked to, but he went through to explain to me the process of how they came about and how they were mandated by the state. And I told him at that time, I said, I did not see how it was fair to me, a homeowner, that my property is valued by the city almost $20,000 more than what the VA appraiser valued it at. And I'm paying taxes on that extra amount of money. How is that fair to me? He stated that he had to use the formula that was given to him and the amount of square footage and the dollar per square foot was $77 a square foot. And I'm like, okay, my home was built in 1975. It was somewhat renovated before I bought it in 2000, and then I've done some stuff. I don't see how that's fair and how we can use those figures on a home of that age. That should be, to me, in a home of a new home, $77 a square foot. I'm like, that's kind of ridiculous. And then for the area that I live in, Teakwood subdivision, I know the neighbor across from me sold his home, which was the brick home, for $124,900, I believe. The neighbor next to him, another brick home, he paid 130-something, 133, 131 for his home. And I'm like, how in the world can my home, which is not a brick home, I have vinyl siding, the square footage that I was given over the phone when I talked to the city appraiser, he said I had 1,992 square feet. When I purchased that home, I was informed that that house had 1,911 heated square feet. I said, no one came to my house to ask, hey, can I come in, do a measurement? We're doing citywide appraisals. And he said, we didn't come in, we just measured the outside of the house. I have a storage outbuilding attached to the house. That would increase the square footage of the home, but I can't live in that storage building. That's lawnmower equipment, yard work equipment, grilling equipment, that type of stuff. So I'm trying to see, how is it fair to me as a homeowner when my property has been increased for a tax purpose when I can't sell that house for that amount of money?
Any questions, comments, Mr. Lewis? Mr. Daughtery? Mr. Mann?
Okay. I think we're all faced with the same dilemma that you are, and that is we purchased our home some time back, and since that time, property values have gone down. Last year I sold a home, and it was substantially less than what I anticipated because the market changed.
Yes.
The difficulty that we have is that the tax office has to work with figures starting back to 2009 and 10 on comparable sales, when the real estate market was a little higher. And then what happened, they implemented them in 2011. Your appraisal and the lady before you was in 2012, which that appraisal will show less than a market value maybe in 2009 and 10. So it's a snapshot. The snapshot you took was in 2012. The snapshot they took was in 2009. Market a little higher in 2009 and 10 than it was in 2012. We can only hope that that's going to reverse and that equalize out with the value going up. And it's a real problem because most homeowners are faced with the same thing you are, and that is my tax value is saying it's $190,000, yet the realtor comes in and the appraisal comes in, it's $155,000. Why am I paying taxes on the difference? Well, you're really not, because everybody is based upon the values of 2009. And I empathize with you, I sympathize with you, because it's a real problem. If it makes you feel any better, the lady that just left evidently is a very similar situation, 155,000 tax value, but actually value of the home being in the 135, 140, less than 140. But it's a real problem. We would almost have to go back through, and I know you're not going to like to hear this, but we would almost have to go back and change all the values on all of the residents in Wayne County to go to the current market. But you see, we're not working on current market, we're working on the market back in 2009, 10. So it's a real problem. I don't want you to feel like by any means, though, that you're overpaying taxes, that you're being singled out, and you are in any way being charged any different rate than what everybody else is. We're all in this boat together.
Well, Mr. Daugherty, I know I'm not being singled out because my neighbors have had the same concern because one of my neighbors, he's an elderly gentleman, he does his laps around the neighborhood and we talk and he was saying, hey man, did you get the letter? Too. I said, yeah, I got the letter. And he said, well, are you gonna do something, what you gonna do? And I said, well, I'm gonna appeal, you know. The one thing I did see was there has been an elevation in tax payment by me since I bought the house, because the first year I bought the house, I paid a little over $1,700 in tax. This last year, I believe I paid almost a little over $2,200 in taxes. See, so that's what I'm talking about. And with 4 children in college and all of the other demands on my back pocket, you know, I'm trying to make sure that I can't speak for everybody else. I can only speak for me. And being treated fairly, because in my eyes, it's not a fair process. It's not. And I understand they used the values back in 2011 or 2009, and that's what's being enforced now, but it doesn't seem fair, and I understand that would be an astronomical amount of work for them to have to go back and redo all of this, but if they have the actual figures for the square footage of the homes, the actual square footage of the homes, and then apply today's value, I believe that we can come to a better solution than just letting everybody hang out there in limbo and continue to pay the prices that they've been paying on the taxes that are inflated. I hate to use that word, but that's what it seems to me, that it's inflated, and I just don't feel the fairness of it.
And I would want to query them in regards to the fact of the square footage and so forth, and we will be asking them that.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor.
No, I didn't.
Okay. Any other questions for Mr. Lewis?
I think my question was getting ready to do the tail end of what Mr. Doherty said, and you talked about the square footage, because we're talking about the storage room part that might not be heated, and would that make the, I'm now asking the question to the tax folk. The specific question, or the specific point that he brought up about the utility room, I'll call it,
Yes,
with all the equipment in it.
I'll let Mr. Lewis go along with me here. He can verify or not verify this. If you look at the property record card, it looks like this in your packet. Okay. This is a sketch of his house right here. If you notice, looking from the bottom up, this says FCP, that's the finished carport. Looking at the road at your house. There's a WDD is wood deck. On the left-hand side, about middle way back, it says FST. That stands for finished storage. I'm assuming, is that what you're talking
Yes, sir.
about? And then on the very back corner is FSP for a screen and porch. Those areas are not included in our square footage. However, he was correct. We do all our measuring from the exterior, which does make a difference depending on the shape of your house and everything. But everybody's done the same, like Mr. Doherty said. It's all done like that. We cannot get in everybody's house and measure every interior of the house. But that FST is not included in what we're calculating as a heated square foot. It's just a matter of the rounding and measuring outside the home. Now, we'd be glad to go back and recheck our measurements here to make sure the exterior is exactly what we do. We'll be glad to do that.
Okay, but now I guess I'm hearing you say it. Was that the comment that you got to go back and do everybody's house, all or none, because you don't go and do any interior.
No, sir.
So you.
The only time we measure interiors is we get inside and measure the upstairs, because obviously we can't walk around the outside upstairs.
So then everyone in Wayne County is getting charged for the space they don't use. That's what you're saying.
But-
So is there, if there's any, does Misery and Company, is that what we're saying?
It's a mass appraisal. It's a mass appraisal.
Then we're on the same misery. I was just wanting to know, there's an old term I have, I'd like to be treated either equally or equitably. And I'm just, because we're hunting for a place that we can or can't go. And now, if we're trying to internalize this. I've heard these gentlemen go over this, I think, 3 times, and I've had some questions about each time, because just if it'll make you feel any better, when I got my notices and everything, my daughter asked me, said, "Daddy, you gonna go down there and do something about that?" I had anything to do with this board at the time, and I came close to standing where you are. But I'll say this to you, I've heard them go over this 2 or 3 times, and I guess today I feel like we're either being treated more equally on this, because I hear the same problem that you're explaining. I have some of the same concerns, and then I gather that almost all of Wayne County may have some of the same concerns. Maybe then all of the state would. If we're following the same guidelines in Duplin County as you are here, then we are, sadly, we are subject to the same problem, if I can use that without kicking the process in the teeth. we're suffering under the same thing, and with that square footage, the other fact that you're talking about, I won't allude that, but I was just trying to get a good handle on that square footage thing and how that was determined, and if you're being treated arbitrarily or something, but it sounds like that the way they do the square footage, because I was looking for, where I was coming from, I was looking for anything that could be to your benefit that would reduce your costs if you were not being treated like everyone else. Thank you, sir.
Mr. Mayor.
Am I looking at this card correctly? What was the tax value before the reval? Is that the 129,740? Is that right?
No, that's the house value currently. In 2003, the value was 121,590, which stayed the same for the 8-year period. It was 121,590.
Okay, so that was what it was when the reval took place.
2003.
Okay, what about in 2011?
It's
What was it?
153,660.
I know, but what was it before it was increased? What was it the year before?
121,590. It stayed the same for 8 years.
It stayed the same for
Yes,
8
sir.
years, that's right.
Yes, sir. It
Okay.
stayed the same
All
for
right.
8 years.
Okay.
And then during that time period, I mean, you know, the market was going up.
Yeah.
And we couldn't, same token, we couldn't do that. And I would like to mention too, Mr. Cromartie hit on this one. We've been fairly unscathed here. I mean, we have instances like Mr. Lewis, which, like you said, is not good. I'm a taxpayer in Wayne County too. I'm in the same boat. But we have other counties, some coastal counties, some mountain counties. We have those hundreds of thousands of dollars difference in values because of what's happened with the economy. Their reval went in like in 2009 when it was at the peak, and then the bottom fell out. So there's a big disparity over across the thing. It's something we've never experienced countywide or statewide before, because like I said, in previous revals, the market's always gone up and recovered right after a reval. We've never had this before. But one plus, and I can thank y'all for this, you did lower the rate a little bit, so that helped Christian a little bit. I mean, every little bit helps.
Any other questions, comments? I've got a question to the county, like I had last time. Look at the, don't go anywhere, but I do have a question on the VA appraisal versus the county's appraisal. What's the total dollar amount, please? And then let's find out what it is. We know what it is per 100, so just give me the difference in tax, please.
I think I had done the change of the 136 versus was about 12.5%, a dollar value of $113.22, which was a total difference of about $17,000. It's about 12.5% and dollar value of about $113.
$113.
Yes, sir.
Question for Mr. Lewis. You mentioned earlier about Scotty Drive and the area in Teakwood, and I'm familiar with where you are. Back in, date sold March in 2010, there was a home that was 2,040 square foot. That was Scotty Drive. Is the 1701 Scotty Drive, is that like 2 blocks down from where you are, or is it?
1701 is, yes, I'm right near the intersection of Boyette and Scotty. Then you go to the next intersection of Darby and Scotty, and I believe that's the home that's on the left-hand side. It's an upstairs, downstairs home.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Corner
sir,
lot.
it is. Do they have a garage or a carport on that?
No,
house?
sir.
Okay. The other one is Darby Place. Is that the Darby you're talking about?
Darby Place.
Yes, sir.
I believe that's
1504 Darby.
okay.
Okay, that was September '09, and that was sold for $151,000. And the Scotty Drive, which is down, as you said, is sold for $157,000.
Okay.
And they're at $76 and 81, respectively, $76.96 per square foot. And here, yours is coming in at 77.
And
I guess my question was earlier, then you said that you probably could not get $150,000 for your house.
no,
You
sir.
still,
The appraisal value of my home, as it stands, is $136,000. I don't know anyone in their right mind that's going to give me $150,000 for a home that appraised out, maxed out at 136.
Yeah, I know.
And like I said, when I bought it in 2005, it appraised at 125. And I offered the
How
gentleman.
much was it, 125?
It was
appraised at 125?
It was appraised at 125 in 2005, and I purchased it. I offered him 123.8, and he took that. Yes, sir.
Do we know what the previous appraised, I'm asking this to the county, the previous appraised value of those two homes, 1504 and 1701, Darby Place and Scotty Drive? Can we get a history on those, please, those two?
Okay, the 1504 Darby Place, the 2003 value through 2010 value was 127,810.
Okay.
And the 1701 Scully Drive, the previous tax value was 118,090. And just for record, those current values now, the 1701 Scully, the current value is 149,060. And the current tax value for 1504 Darby is 161,430.
I'm sorry, I had it upside down. Hold it, 149,060.
Yes, sir, that's for
That
Scotty
was
Drive.
Scotty Drive, and
Yes, sir.
Darby is what?
161,430. Those are the current tax values for those properties.
160 what?
161,430.
430.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Let me look at this real quick.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Got it.
Mr. Chair.
I'm sorry, Mr. Daughtry.
Do you by chance have a copy of the appraisal showing the 136 as to what the square footage, the
I don't-
appraiser?
They didn't send me that, sir. All I got was a copy that they sent to the bank, and I provided the tax office with that. I don't know if they still have it in the file.
They have it.
Okay, but that's all that I received from them, the same sheet.
Well, I would ask that you would contact the bank there and ask them whether or not they can send you a copy of that appraisal so we could see what the appraiser indicated the square footage, heated square footage was. In my opinion, I think that you would probably hang more on your case regarding a difference in square footage.
Okay,
And if you could get a copy of that appraisal and it showed that the square footage was 1911, whereas the tax card is indicating it's 1900 and, what was that, 77?
92, I believe that's what
You
they
know,
told me. Yes, sir.
I think that would have more weight probably than just about anything. So I'd ask that you get a hold to a copy of the
Okay,
appraisal.
yes, sir.
Any other questions, comments? Mr. Camardo?
But Mr. Daugherty, just so we don't cast false hope, what you would be asking him to provide from the bank might be an interior measurement to get the square footage, but what those gentlemen say they're doing countywide is an exterior measurement, so.
I didn't say he was going to win his case.
No, but I know that, but no, I'm not saying that. But that's why I said an expectation of false hope. I'm listening to see, because if my gentleman comes back with exactly what you said, there would be an expectation that will make a difference. I'm just saying that we've got to try to set the game up so that no matter how many folks you come here, we're playing by the same card, and that's called equitable and equal. So I'm not suggesting, and I would want him to be real clear. Now, I wouldn't want him to waste his time going to do a lot of work with the bank when that wasn't going to make any difference. I'm not saying it won't make any difference with y'all, but I'm trying to keep my head where no matter who comes here, we will be talking about how we're going to interpret what the tax office brings to us and what the citizens bring to us so that we can make the same judgment value each time. Is that am I?
Just could I follow up on that?
All right.
Mr. Daughtry?
I don't want to give you any false hope.
Okay.
But let me ask our distinguished tax expert here, if in fact we were able to show that there would be a discrepancy in regards to the square footage, would that not hold some weight in regards to maybe the value may need to have some adjustment?
That's a good question. I was going to respond to Mr. Camara too, but it's the same thing. we do ask, we would like to have a copy of that appraisal, because we don't get the luxury of going inside all these houses, and a lot of times we can see notes that the appraiser's been inside. He may see something we don't know about.
That's correct.
And it could be not necessarily square footage, but it could be some damage he noted, some not remodeling he noted, and stuff like that. We like to get appraisals, not necessarily for the value, but for the detail.
Sure.
So we would love to have a copy of that if you can get a hold of it and just provide it to us.
No false hope.
And the same thing with Ms.
Well, some
Hollowell. Ms. Hollowell did not provide us a copy for appraisal. You saw what she gave us. She did have it with her, though, so I got a copy of it today, so I want to review hers
Great.
also.
Great.
Good.
Thank you. Okay, any other comments from the commissioners? Or Mr. Lewis? Thank you. Thank you. Taxpayer appeals.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman.
Mr.
Those are the two we had to come before you. We had one, we did have a third one, and that gentleman called us this week and withdrew his appeal.
Yes, sir.
Did not wish to appear.
Thank you, Mr. Ward. Okay, Mr. Ward, thank you. Okay, we'll move on with the county manager's report. Mr. Smith?
Yes, sir. Real quick, I just wanted to just give you an idea of a couple things that were happening. I mentioned a couple of them already this morning, so I apologize for the repeat, but I think just to give you an update on Mount Olive Library, in my getting back over the weekend, I met yesterday with the staff on the Mount Olive Library project. We are sending information to the attorney to look at the contract documents that would be needed between the county and the design build firm and Jackson Builders. We're also setting up a meeting with Jackson Builders and the staff, including the attorney, and we'll be putting together the timeline on the project because that's going to be important, where there will be some public meetings held in that area. That was discussed in their briefing with the board. So we'll be doing that, I think next week we'll be getting that scheduled. So because I know there was a couple of board members that would not be here, and I was going to try and get at least a board member to attend when I call that meeting. So we'll be doing that and getting some timeframes to you. Also on the school financing plan, we have till October 8th. I will be talking with the school superintendent. I do understand they're hiring an architect and engineer to look at deriving some plans for their school projects, which is great. And we can utilize that in trying to develop our time frames. What I would like to meet with Dr. Taylor, along with Ms. Holt and myself and Nan Barwick, is to set up these schedules to look at when they think design would be complete, because until then, there's nothing really to act upon. They have to have something. Now, we also would like to have some discussions about some of the funding that they have available to them now to do some of their preliminary renovations. They talk about some HVAC projects that we feel like they probably should go ahead and move forward on. So we would like to talk to them about that and make some suggestions of what's available to them. We will be holding Monday. I've got a staff meeting on the payroll, so we'll be bringing that back. That's due the second meeting in September, I believe, with options coming back on the payroll issue. So we'll be meeting Monday to move forward on that process. We did, I think, Mr. Pate mentioned we have next week, Thursday of next week, we have the Veterans Planning Session, which should be a great session. We have Wanda Sykes coming to facilitate that, so we're excited about that. Also was mentioned about the proposals being put together on land use planning. I'd worked with Connie Price, the director, and a board member trying to put that together, and we'll be bringing that to you. After we're having some really agenda-free meetings, but really discussions. We've got, I think, 4 or 5, Marcia, set already, where the board will be having meetings with each of the city or /town councils in September. And we've scheduled some of these projects, or for instance, land use planning, until after these meetings. We wanted to see where they were on their transportation planning, on their some of the issues as far as zoning. Are there any things that we need to take into account? And we will be making sure the board has those calendars. We have breakfast meetings, lunch meetings, afternoon meetings, and evening meetings. So we'll be taking care of 7 of them in total. So we'll be taking care of that. So September really is kind of a planning time period, and August and September. So we're excited about it. I think you set a great course for us as far as putting together some of these activities. So it will be a busy month in putting together some of these projects, and a lot of information coming back to you in October. So I think we've set a good course. So, and I think the last thing for me, if you got that queued up, Marcia. The last thing for me, if we can get it to pop up here. Which one was it? Was it that one that was the document? So, I had a bear of a time on my vacation. This is Queen Eleanor, who's about a 250-pound black bear who frequents our garbage can. Now, I will note to all of you, and I hope Wildlife isn't listening, note my trash can. Note the bag hanging on the trash can. Note that my wife hung that on the side, and yes, I'm trying to embarrass her so that she won't ever do this again. I have video, if you would like to come to my office, of that bear. She has 2 baby cubs born in April, and she frequents our backyard. And yes, they're they're great and love to look at them, but that's Bambi, that's way too close. So anyway, just letting you know. And we had a great time. I appreciate the time off.
Yes,
It was
sir.
very relaxing. Thank you.
Any comments, questions on his report today as we move forward? If not, then we stand ready for the commissioners' the comments. And Mr. Cromartie, start with you. Comments.
I was going to give to the other end of the table, if you don't mind. I'm always taking first. And
No, I
Mr. Bill.
asked him to start his reports today first, and I was just going to switch it over and ask, but certainly if that's what you would request, Mr. Bell, if you have no objections, we'll do that. Okay,
All
Mr.
right.
Cromartie, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
The comment that I have is not to be critical, but it's just to make a point. I revel in the fact that we're so good at giving pins and plaques to those who are well deserving. But in our budget preparations and everything, I asked this question: what was the percent, or what was the what was going to be any kind of a salary increase for the general population of employees? And I think the answer was there was none scheduled. And while pins and plaques are great, you cannot spend those. And so I think we should always be cognizant that employees need dollars to spend, because that's gas and bread and milk. And we love to get plaques and pins, but I want us to be very conscious as we start towards the next budget session that we do not follow the lead of the state and say that you can go 3, 4, 5 years without any kind of a raise. The reason I wanted to actually start from the other end, I wanted Mr. Daughtry to give his report first and to speak something about the Board of Election meetings that he had been to, and I'll just let him go ahead and give us any comments that he would like. But I would also like to end my comment about the Board of Election meetings with this. I'll be very disappointed if I found that any of the Board of Election meetings that we would have would turn out like some of the ones that seem like have turned out around Elizabeth City State University, where folk have been denied the opportunity to vote because there were real technicalities about them being college students and not eligible to vote because they did not have some sort of a legitimate address. And the United States Supreme Court ruled in some previous year that college students could vote where they went to school. So that could have an impact on Wayne County if that any of those kinds of things were followed in Wayne County, as it has happened at Elizabeth City State. And as I think I could quote, the gentleman said that he was going to take this show on the road. So I would not want that road to wind its way through Wayne County. Also, I think at Watauga County, Asheville, They have done things to eliminate voting on the campus there, and therefore providing an additional impediment towards folk having the opportunity to vote freely and without duress and suppression. I just want to say openly to the public that that would present a problem if it raised its head in Wayne County. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kamara. Mr. Page?
Comments we're going to be about the land use plan, but I've already done that. But I do want to comment one thing about the tax appeals that we just witnessed. And I didn't have a lot to say there because I too feel their pain and I empathize with their situation. I just recently sold a property that belonged to my family, and let's face it, it was less than the tax value. And I guarantee you my house now, if I tried to sell it, would be less. The tax valuation system is not a perfect system, and no government system is, but it is what it is, and we're all being treated fairly. And but I do feel the pain. I just needed to make those comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pate. Mr. Aycott?
Yes, just one item, basically. Just want to remind everyone that the County Firemen's Association meeting is tonight at Third Fire Department. They will have a meal at 7 and the meeting at 7:30. And also, and everyone's invited, and also, as all of y'all know, you've watched me limp around ever since I've been up here. I'm getting that problem fixed next Tuesday, and I will be limited on some meetings. I'm planning on being at the next commissioners meeting, but I'll be limited on some of the other meetings you'll have. But all of you's got my phone number, and I'll have it with me at all times. So if you need anything, please call. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Aycott. We'll be praying for your recovery and your healing. Mr. Mayor.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I join you in wishing Commissioner Aycott well in his surgery. You'll be in our prayers. And we also are on standby if you need us to do anything to help you and your family during the time you're not out of commission, but incapacitated for a little while.
Thank you.
Talking about the reval, it's based on averages. I doubt if a person's home now is evaluated on a new val at let's say $160,000. If the market fell to where their home was valued, market value was 120, I doubt they would come back to us and say, look, my market value's dropped, I need to adjust, the taxes. I doubt that would happen. So the key is that it is based on the average, some ups and downs that are in the market. It's really tough because in my case, most of the properties that I have, I cannot sell them for what the tax value is, but when real estate comes back, and it's starting to come back, in the next 2, 3, 4 years, I might be able to sell it for what the new reval is. So the other thing is that facilities, as Mr. Smith had alluded to, very busy time for facilities here in Wayne County. We have made tremendous progress. We're really keeping a close eye on the Stillman Memorial. I appreciate what you and your staff are doing. You have a correct protocol to go through, but we're making progress. Across the county, facilities, there's been a lot of progress made on the repair and rebuild of some of our facilities here in the county. I do know that our new facilities manager is really getting spare parts in stock. That's been a problem, not having spare parts for chillers and things like that, to where we can get them up and running. So our new facilities director, he's not new anymore, Milford Smith, is doing a great job. And so just wanted to say that we're really busy as far as facilities are concerned, and just appreciate, you're going to see in the next 3.5 years some physical changes physical changes, more than you see now in our facilities in Wayne County. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayo. Mr. Daughtery?
No comment.
Mr. Bell?
Yes, I'm like Mr. Andy Anderson. Now, I have a couple of things I'd like to say.
Yes, sir.
Number one, Eastern Region have about $15 million that they're trying to loan out to counties. And, because some of that money, if they make the big change, is going to go back to the state, or they're going to freeze it after a while. So if you need some money at a cheap rate, you might need to check with John Chafee and find out how we can acquire some of it if you need it, you know.
We're looking at what the particulars are,
Right.
what it can be used for, because there are some stipulations, so we're seeing if there's any
Right.
matchup.
We can also, for an example, if there's a county that doesn't need to use their monies, another county can borrow that money,
Yes.
you know, so you can get double for your money, so to speak. And the second thing is that going down this Slocum Street, South Slocum Street, near Seymour Johnson Air Force Base, it looked like a jungle down there. I talked with the city, and I just mentioned it to the chairman, that we have an opportunity to go out there and clean that area up. I talked to Mr. Stewart at the base, and I also talked to some of the security forces. You know, that was my unit that I was in. I was the first sergeant of that unit. And it looked like a jungle outside that base. Those guys told me they were scared to death at night whenever they're standing out there letting people in and out the gate. So that could be a project that we could take on and clean up the outside of that southern end of Slocum Street. And the third thing is, I agree with Mr. Cromartie 100% in what he said. How's that, Mr. Cromartie?
Sir? Thank you, sir.
I have no comment. Is there anything else to be brought before the board?
Check his blood pressure.
Thank you very much. Do I have a motion we adjourn?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Bell. All those in favor, raise your hand.